Welcome back to Super Sentai Reviews. This is episode number 13. And in this episode, we're going to talk about the 15th Super Sentai that ever came out, which is... I do know the name of it, just I wanted to get its full name. There we go. Yeah, I finished this one very recently. I started it a couple of years ago and I recently finished it. Called Zyuranger Sentai Zyuranger. This Sentai was used for Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1. This particular thing, well, for the most part, some of the storylines are similar to how they were in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1. The villains pretty much do almost the same exact, similar thing they do in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1, but there's a slight difference. First of which, you know how in the pilot, people who watch the pilot Day of the Dumpster, where you see those astronauts where they take the dumpster top off, and there's Rita Repulse and her gang. In the Sentai, it goes a little bit further than after the astronauts just run away. In the Super Sentai, they get shot off into space. I am not kidding. They get blown off this planet they're on. It's generally referred to as Planet Nemesis. The planet itself has never been explained. And they actually have a space shuttle. And the Sentai actually, the first episode actually does explain what the heck happened to it. Apparently, there were 2 kids on board. I'm like, really? Why the heck would you bring your kids on a space shuttle? It really makes no sense. And of course, unlike in Power Rangers, Repulse has never mentioned that she ever hated children. In Zyuranger, yeah, she hates children. And she takes these 2 kids hostage. And of course, the 5 Zyurangers who are basically kept in suspended animation until their equivalent to Zordon. I think it's like Bobbity, I think his name is. Yeah, it's an older guy who is basically functioning as the teen's mentor. His look doesn't change throughout the entire Sentai, and the Sentai itself is like 50 episodes long. It's quite long of a Sentai. Originally, I had watched the episodes on YouTube, took a break from it, and then recently I finished up watching the episodes on ShotFactory.com, which basically you can watch on there for free. Plus, also you can also buy the entire subbed season on DVD for about $50. I'm not kidding. That's what Shot Factory chose it for. I, of course, never bought it, but I was able to watch the show on the site for free because basically you can watch everything. You can watch anything that they have on the site for free without paying a subscription for it, which is nice. But yeah, some of this episode was adapted into the episode which features the creature known as the Giant, which the monster is known as Titan. And of course, you also get a chance to see the Zords the first time. And it takes to episode 6 to finally put the Zords together to form the Megazord, which is called Dujitsu, which this Megazord can actually talk. I am not kidding. He can talk. And it's a very interesting process. Basically, you have Griffizor, who is Goldar's equivalent, and Bodora Sphinx, basically, aka the Sphinx, just dropped the name without the name Dora. Yeah, almost all the monsters basically have the name Dora in front of their name. All the monsters had this except for Lokai. Lokai was the only one who did not do it because Lokai was basically... He only appeared in 4 episodes of the entire Sentai. Now, it is explained that that Lokai, I think it's Lokai. No, actually his name is Dai Satan. Yeah, that's his name, Dai Satan. He's basically a giant head. Who's basically the equivalent to Satan himself. Now, he's called Lokai in Power Rangers, and he does appear for a few episodes in that, just like how he appears in a few episodes in Super Sentai. Yeah. Of course, he's destroyed pretty much the same way as he is in Power Rangers. His head gets blown up by the Megazord. By Ultimate Dujutsu, which is basically a combination of which is basically the Reed Dujutsu with the Grand Caesar, which is the Dragon Zord, and Titanosaurus, which I think is called like Beast God something. I don't remember his name. It's basically the Kyōryū Zord. Having all three have all of these 7 Zords all combined into one. That's what they used to destroy the actual monster. Pretty much the same way they beat in Power Rangers in the 2-part Doomsday. Now, of course, Linkara himself has reviewed the famous Dragon Saga, Dragon Ranger Saga, as I think he reviewed it just last year. I think it was this past August, and it was his first regular episode on YouTube. August of last year, anyways. Yeah, it was the first Super Sentai he ever reviewed, and of course, earlier this year he reviewed the first 5 episodes of Gokaiger. Now, he, of course, has already gave his thoughts on it. I, of course, watched it myself, and it's a damn good Sentai. A really good saga of episodes, which, of course, was adapted into the famous Green Ranger saga, which a lot of people really love. Now, there is one thing unique difference between the Dragon Ranger saga and the Green Ranger saga. One thing, they kept this identity secret from the Rangers for pretty much the whole entire Sentai. In the case of the whole 5-parter, in this one, they pretty much knew who he was, and he would just didn't like him at all because, well, yeah. And also, you know that little ball thing he does, where he shoots a ball of energy at the Zyurangers? He does the same thing in Power Rangers, and he never uses it ever again. Yeah, it's never explained exactly why he never uses it again. He just doesn't use it again. And as for the sword, he actually goes to retrieve it. Now, unlike in Power Rangers, where it's just simply just given to him by Rita Posa, in the Sentai, he goes on a quest and goes to get it. He gets it. I want to talk also about the legendary weapons. Basically, the weapons that Power Rangers use. Now, in Power Rangers, they would simply just hand it to them in just a few episodes. And this one, they kind of went on a quest to go get them. And they look like pretty much the same weapons they used at the start of it, because apparently by episode 3, the weapons have been damaged and they need new weapons. Well, damaged to the point where they need just brands to make new weapons. Basically, something like the sword got broken in half, something like that. And here's the weird thing about the Rangers and their weapons. They actually can use their weapons when they're not morphed. Gokaiger is known for doing this as well, where they use their actual weapons outside of their morph form. Though it doesn't look like it's... They look like normal objects, like there's a sword, bow and arrow, daggers, a lance, an axe. Yeah, an actual axe. And when these guys are not in their morph form, basically they just wear warrior clothes instead of like what they did in Mighty Morphin, just regular street clothes, because they're warriors. They had to wear something really nice. That's one thing interesting, though, about how when you see these people in the Sentai, what they look like when they're not morphed up. They pretty much wear whatever they feel like wearing. Half the time they wear uniforms or just basically whatever type of garment they're given. In Power Rangers, it's just color-coded street clothes. That's simply what they wear. Half the time it's usually just warrior outfits or uniforms. That's what I've seen basically most of the time when I watch these Sentai. Of course, they get the new weapons. Oh, I should also mention when Dojin basically is first formed, everyone's like shocked, like, what? He can do that? And he does the whole tank thing. And here's something really neat. They never, I don't know, I don't think they ever show us in Power Rangers, where they actually have it where whenever when it's in the Dino, when the Dojin is in his tank form, you actually hear the braking sounds, and then you hear the machine movements. I hear like in Power Rangers they put music over it, and whenever it turns into its warrior form, it's in Power Rangers it says like Megazord sequence activated. In Zyuranger, it just sounds of the machine. That's simply what it is. Even though it's a slight difference, simply you see the same thing over and over again. Like a lot of the monsters, the Sphinx also basically took children hostage and turned them to trees. And just by sheer coincidence, there were Levermen basically going to chop the trees down. But luckily enough, basically now, they asked him what's his greatest riddle, and he says where is my weakness? Where do I keep my where is my weakness? And they think it was his chest. It was actually the thing on top of it. It was actually the snake thing on his head. And like, yeah, they tricked him to reveal. And here's something interesting though that the Sphinx never did in Power Rangers. The Sphinx has a human form. Yeah, most of the monsters in I've seen some of the Sentai actually have human forms. They usually use them as disguises. The Sphinx one, I thought it was an interesting monster for what he was. But yeah. But then they get to the more serious stuff when they let's see. Oh, and also the green candle. It's different in the Sentai. In Power Rangers, it was basically how Tommy lost his powers. In Sentai, it was basically a way. Now, when he first knew about the candle, he had 30 hours of life left of him because it was later explained that the place where he was kept was damaged by a cave-in. Basically, he was on the verge of dying. So whenever he went to the room, when he went to that room, which is referred to as Borai's room, yeah, the room itself suspends time itself and keeps him alive. And the first time he went out, he was out for 5 hours, so he went straight back to the. Only a couple times they've actually brought it up would actually cut them out of their room for a good period of time. Before later on, Bador actually destroyed the room, and later on, Borai died. Yes, he actually died. One of basically 2 times I've actually seen it in a Sentai where the Sixth Ranger actually dies. Yeah, and every time he went out, like whenever you saw him in the Sentai, whenever he did go out, he usually was off for maybe for about 5-10 minutes tops. Usually he was not for too long, because if he was out for too long, he would die a lot quicker. So as soon as they send the monster out, the dragon out, and just do that. And I love the last episode, and this was really, really neat. His last episode before he died, he basically jumped inside the cockpit for a Grand Caesar, which basically the Dragon Zord. Now in Power Rangers, Tommy is in his morph form when he's inside the actual Zord. In Zyuranger, he first starts out most of it out of Ranger form and just fighting the monster because he's going to die really soon because his room was destroyed. It's like, okay, let's just have one last grand battle. And of course, later on, he does die afterwards. He does destroy the monster. He does a good job of that. And one thing I know still about the cockpit, they only show this in one episode. And just like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, they show one episode, which I keep thinking, why in the world would he just simply just control with his flute? It's just really bizarre. And also, in the Sentai, he actually can control the Dragon Zord when he actually can use the Dragon Flute when he's not in his morph form. Something Power Rangers never actually did on the show. They did, however, did it recently in the Power Rangers comic book published by Boom Studios. But, yeah, and like Power Rangers, the reason why Tommy got a lot of development was because in Zyuranger, Borai got a lot of development too, and you got a chance to see him in the athlete. It was nice to see that he got peaceful death, but he wasn't like killed in battle. He actually died because, well, he ran out of life. But later on, toward the end of the Sentai, Borai's son comes back. Yeah, not Bador, not Borai. Badora. Bador's son comes back. Now, nobody knew she had a child. She kept the complete secret for years. And the reason why she started kind of hate children in a way was, well, you see, here's the thing. Her sweet, innocent boy was a brat. And do you know what he did? And apparently she was alive in dinosaur times. Yeah, it was really bizarre how this show works. Or apparently there's actual kingdoms during dinosaur times, which is really weird. And apparently this kid was a complete jerk to the dinosaurs. You know how? He smashed the dino eggs. Yeah, despite the whole proclamation of him being a sweet little boy, he was in fact a bully. And he was killed by a dinosaur, and then, of course, Badora became, well, what she is. And because the fact that she isn't, because they refer to her as like their queen, they refer to him as the prince. And from what I can tell, he doesn't have a problem being called the prince, because after all, he is her son. And despite the fact he is basically... Now, he was brought back by Dai Satan because he was coming back. Now, the way he was brought back the first time was that these towers had sprung up. These 4 towers had basically popped up in the middle of Tokyo. And basically how he was get rid of him the first time, they destroyed the towers. He was successful at that. This time they were actually able to destroy the towers this time and also destroy the actual monster. And the way to defeat the Fedora was that she cried and she lost her power, so they used it in the regular Zord form. Decided to just, well, reseal her along with her gang. Oh yeah, and Scorpionus, which is called Lammy. Yeah, she's called Lammy in the Sentai footage. She showed up during the Dragon Ranger saga. She wasn't really... She did a little bit more in Zyuranger than they did in Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. Let's see, what else? They got resealed, and a bit of time passed by, and apparently Lammy and Griffazor had a child. Despite the fact Fedora hates children, she doesn't have a problem with this child because it's cute. And she says she'll be back. As far as I know, she never did, because as of currently, Witch Fedora has never returned. And for some strange reason, Griffazor was cloned in whatever Sentai. I remember the Sentai. It's like Zyuranger, I think it's called. The Sentai used for Dino Charge. Yeah, he was cloned in there and basically do whatever. I'll get to that Sentai eventually. But overall, this was a really good Sentai to watch. There was no crossover movies at all. None with the previous one, which is let's see. The previous Sentai before this one was Jetman. Actually, this was the 16th Sentai. There was no crossover with Jetman at all. They didn't came with the idea of doing crossover films was until they came with O-Ranger, because O-Ranger was the 19th Super Sentai. Prior to it being announced as 19th Super Sentai, this particular Sentai was exactly, despite I think it's the 16th, at the time it was the 14th Sentai. But yeah, overall, this is a great Sentai to watch, and I highly recommend checking this one out if you're curious about the source material where Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Season 1 got its fight footage from. Overall, I'll get the Sentai 9 out of 5. It's a great Sentai to watch. Nothing really dumb about it, per se. Even though some of the stuff I have seen before, thanks to Power Rangers, but not a lot, not everything was used with Power Rangers. Okay? So, that's it for this episode. Next episode, Zyuranger. I'm actually going to talk about that one. And it will be my last one for a while, because after the episode, I'm putting the show on hiatus until I finish up another Sentai. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.